Hey guys, it's Miss Harris here. I'm so excited to see you live from my kitchen. We are here today, second graders, to talk about measurement. My first question I want to ask you is, what is measurement? I want you to think for a second. When I say measurement, what do I mean? What are some things you can measure? Think about your house, your life, everything. What are some things you can measure? Can we measure temperature? Yes, we can. We can measure how hot, how cold, right? We use a thermometer and we look at when it rises inside or when it goes down. We did that in science this year, right? What else can we measure? We can measure the size of things, how big they are, how little they are, right? We can measure time, how long it takes to do something. Some things feel like they take a long time and some things don't, right? But we can measure time in hours and days and weeks and months. We can also measure the length of things, how long they are, how short they are. And in fact, for this video, that's going to be our focus. It's called linear measurement. Linear measurement is measuring the length of something. And the length of something is the longest part. So when we talk about measuring something, the length, we're talking about measuring the longest part. So my next question for you is, what are some tools that we could use to measure length or the longest part of something? If I wanted to measure this book right here, this Big Nate book, the length would be this part right here. How could I measure that? What could I use? What do you think? What are some things? Ooh, good, I heard you. Rulers, yes. What are some other things? Sometimes we have measurement tools at our house, and so if you do, we're going to be using those this week. Here are some of mine. I have this ruler my grandma gave me when I was a little kid. It's pretty cute, but the problem with this ruler is it has inches. These are inches, but that's the only type of measurement it has. So some rulers have more things. So you might have a ruler like this that has inches. One ruler is 12 inches. 12 inches is also called 1 foot. So this ruler is called 1 foot, not like your foot, right? Or my foot, or the King's Foot, if you've ever read that book. I love that book. But in this case, 1 foot is 12 inches. I have another ruler that I've had for a long time. Oh, actually, this one says Nathan Harris on the back. But it's got two types of measurement. It's got inches, so it goes from 1 to 12, and it actually tells us over here. Usually there's some kind of marking. Oh, this one doesn't have it. This side doesn't say inches, but this side says centimeters. These are smaller units of measurement. So it starts over here at 1, and it goes a little past 30. Not quite to 31, but not exactly 30. This ruler has about 30 centimeters. The thing about measurement is you're going to use the word about a lot. It's really hard to get a perfect measurement. It's important, but it's really hard to be perfect. So we use the word about a lot when we're measuring. So this ruler is 12 inches, but it's about 30 centimeters if we look at this side. This other tool right here that I borrowed from my lovely neighbor, Mrs. Sullivan, our 5th grade teacher, this is called a yardstick. Maybe you have one of these at your house. It's very similar to a meter stick. They're just a little bit different in length. A yardstick is like 3 rulers put together. If I take this ruler with 12 inches, there's 1. And then if I start at the 12 and I move 12 plus 12 is 24, there's 2. And then 24 plus 12 more is 36. So this yardstick is 36 inches. I can measure inches with it because they're marked, but I could also take this whole stick and call it 1 yard. People that use fabric do that a lot. My neighbor's been making masks for the virus for people to be safe. And so she has purchased fabric, and when she does, you usually buy a yard of fabric, and that's what this measurement is. But if you don't have any measurement tools around your house, you might have something else. What are these? Yep, paper clips, right? Paper clips make a great measuring tool, and you can use paper clips. They're called non-standard units. So the units I just showed you are standard. If you say inches to someone else in the world, they're going to know what you mean. Non-standard are things that we can use to measure that aren't exactly meant for measuring, but they work as long as we use them correctly. So paper clips are great. I've also got some coins here I'm going to show you in a minute. And then I even got some playing cards I can use to measure. So those are all things that I have around the house that I could use to measure. And I'm going to show you how to do that in just a second. We're actually going to measure the length of this Big Nate book I've been talking about using all the different units I showed you. So when I put my Big Nate book down, I'm going to start with inches since that's the measurement that you hear most of the time. So I'm going to take my lovely inch ruler. When I take a ruler to measure, I have to make sure I'm lined up. I can't just stick the ruler on and say, oh, look, it's over here by the 11. This is 11 inches. Because look what's happening down here. This part's not counting, is it? So really, these couple inches that are over here are not part of the book. So when I measure, I have to line my ruler up, start it right at the edge. You have to be careful though. Some rulers are kind of tricky in that they leave a little extra space before they actually start measuring. So you might need to check your ruler out. But my Bear ruler starts exactly at the end. So when I started exactly at the end of the book and I measure to the longest part of the book, it stops right here at the 9. This book is 9 inches long. So if I were to record the measurement, I would write 9 inches. In measurement, it's very important to talk about the unit. The unit is what you are measuring in. It's what you're using to measure. I always say the unit is what you are using. So this is 9 inches. Now when I get my other ruler and I use centimeters, remember when I showed you those centimeters? Were they bigger or smaller than the inches? Look right here. This is 1 inch and this is 1 centimeter. So when I measure with centimeters, do you think it's going to take more centimeters or less centimeters to measure my book? What do you think? Let's see. So I'm going to find my ruler. This one has centimeters. So again, I can't just stick it on. I've got to line it up at the end. Centimeters actually start right at the edge of this ruler too. So when I put it on and I measure, it looks like this. You're going to notice, it's in between the 22 and the 23. I have to decide which one it's closer to, especially in 2nd grade. We don't have to measure exactly perfect. We're going to use the word about, like I said, and I have to decide, is it closer to the 22 or is it closer to the 23? So when I line it up perfectly and look on here, it's past 22 and a half, so it's definitely closer to 23. So if I were to record the measurement in centimeters, I would write 23 centimeters. This book is 23 centimeters long. It was 9 inches long, but 23 centimeters long. Now, I told you a whole ruler is 1 foot. This book is not even 1 foot long. It's less than 1 foot. I can still use that as a measurement, but it's a little bit harder to decide how much less than a foot, right? Is it close to a foot? Is it barely a foot? So that's why inches and centimeters are a better choice for this book. But I can also measure it with my paper clips. I want you to notice, though, that in my paper clips, I have some big ones and I have some little ones. If I put a big one down and then I put a little one down, that was my yardstick. If I put a big one and a little one, do you think I'm going to get a very accurate measurement? If I were to say, oh, this book is 5 paper clips long, I have a feeling someone might not know what kind of paper clips, right? So the important thing is if you pick a unit like this at your house, a non-standard unit, that you choose the same size. So I either need to use all big paper clips or all little paper clips and then specify. So I'm going to go with the big paper clips and I'm going to line it up. Again, just like my ruler, I can't stick out and I can't start way over here. I've got to start right at the edge. I think if I use this edge, it'll be easier. And I'm going to line up my paper clips end to end. I don't want to overlap them, and I don't want to leave any gaps in the middle, so end to end, like this. Let's see, I've got one more. I need one more big one. Oh, of course I don't have one more big one. Let me go with littles. So that might happen at your house too. If you don't have enough of something, you might switch units. I have a lot of little paper clips. So when I line up my little paper clips, I'm still going end to end. Here I am. Here's where I have to make a decision too. I've got more room. Do I need a whole nother paper clip? Or is it smaller than, less than half of the paper clip? So I definitely have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 little paper clips. If I put another one on, you know what? It takes up most of that paper clip. So I'm going to say about 7 paper clips. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 paper clips. This book is 7 little paper clips long, about, right? I could also use coins. Coins are another great tool. Same thing with the paper clips though. I don't want to pick different size coins. I either want to use all pennies or all nickels or all dimes or all quarters, because if I mix my coins, right, they're different sizes, a unit has to be the same size all the way down, just like inches. They're all the same size. Centimeters, they're all the same size. So I want to pick with a tool that I can use all the same size. So all pennies would be a good way. I could line up my pennies end to end without any space, starting here to here, and I could measure this with pennies. I could also do it with these cards, right? I could line them up. 1, 2. This book is actually about 2.5. It's pretty perfectly in the middle there. This book is about 2.5 playing cards long, right? Kind of an unusual unit, but your unit, as long as you stick with it and use it to measure the whole way, it'll work, okay? This week you're going to be measuring some different items. You're going to be using whatever you can find at your house to measure. Maybe you've got a ruler, maybe you've got a yardstick. You might have a measuring tape. Some families have measuring tapes. They can pull out and be stiff, or they can be like a ribbon. In class, we used measuring tapes when we measured the sun's shadow. So whatever you have at your house. I also didn't know this until yesterday, but on an iPhone, there is an app under utilities called Measurement. Maybe you could play around with that as well. It's really cool. Yesterday, I measured things in my house. You just point it at an item, click the button, move your phone till it touches the end of the item, click it, and it tells you exactly how long it is. Pretty cool. I never knew that before yesterday. But if you have an iPhone, it's in the utilities section, and it's called Measure. Pretty cool. So this week, you're going to be measuring some things. You're going to be comparing. You're going to be turning some of those things in on Dojo on Friday. You'll have an activity where you measure some things and turn them in. Just make sure that you record your unit that you're using. Is it inches? Is it centimeters? Is it playing cards? Is it pennies? Is it paper clips? Or maybe you have a bunch of Legos that are all the same size. That could be something you could use too. But we're exploring different linear measurement this week. Measuring the length of something, the longest part, and deciding how long it is. All right? Hey guys, I'm back real quick. I just forgot to mention one thing. You all have a measuring tool built right into your body. If you take your hand and you bend your pointer finger like this, in between these two knuckles is about an inch. No matter how big you are, no matter how little you are, it's crazy. But in between those two knuckles is about an inch. When you bend like that, look right here. It's about an inch. So that's one way that you can measure inches if you don't have an inch ruler. You can use your finger to help you estimate inches. I could use that on this book. And from before, we learned it was 9 inches. We should get about 9, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. About 9 inches. Your pinky finger, the width of your pinky finger, so from one side to the other, is about 1 centimeter. So when I put my pinky finger down like this, I'm measuring 1 centimeter. Isn't that cool? Your body has its own sense of measurement too.